You guys look great, man. Give yourselves a hand for being present today. You know, you guys look good. You guys even smell good, right? Like, I'm used to being in locker rooms. Locker rooms don't always smell like this, right? But I'm extremely honored and humbled to be on this stage before you today. You know, every opportunity I get to speak is something that I can never take for granted simply because I never saw myself doing it. Right? I'll never forget when I got to college, they placed me in public speaking. I dropped the class on the second day. I despised it. And so me being on this stage coming up on 16 years, I'm reminded that it's being guided by a source and by a force that's a lot greater than me. Right? Yeah. And so by show of hands, do we have anybody in the crowd that subscribes to the gift of gratitude? Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in gratitude and intentionality. Right? Every single day being intentional with approach, being intentional with perspective, being intentional with attitude. And so I start my day off in a similar fashion, whether I'm traveling or whether I'm home with my family. When I'm home with my family, of course, I'm with my wife, our 2 children. We have an 11-year-old son, 12-year-old daughter, 11 months apart, Irish twins, give us a run for our money every day of the week, right? But when I travel, I keep my quote cards with me, and I'm gonna read a couple to you guys to get a sense of what I'm speaking of. The first one reads, passion. The task is to recognize that you are uniquely special. You have something to give, some talent, some gift that nobody else shares in quite the same way. This gift needs to blossom so we can appreciate and enjoy the benefit of it and acknowledge you for it. You owe it to yourself and your family for all of us to honor your gifts. For only when you share your unique joy with the world does the entire world benefit. Every advance mankind has known has come because of someone's effort. Don't let shyness rob you and the world of the power and the passion that lies within you. The second one reads, it's all in your mind. Whatever you hold in your mind will tend to occur in your life. If you continue to believe as you have always believed, you will continue to act as you have always acted. You will continue to get what you have always gotten. If you want different results in your life or your work, all you have to do is be willing to change your mind. And the last one reads, you were put on this earth to achieve your greatest self and to live out your purpose and do it fearlessly. And so I'll never forget, in the middle of the pandemic, I was in St. Louis. I was speaking to a group, and I said, can somebody share with me something that you're grateful for in the midst of the opposition, in the midst of the challenge, in the midst of the uncertainty? I said, I get it, we're dealing with a real situation. I said, but can somebody share with me something that they're grateful for? Never forget, a lady stands up, and she says, I'm grateful I get to speak to my mother every single day in Japan. If my schedule was the same, I know I would never get to do that. A gentleman stands up in the back of the room, straps up to his ears, looked like he was supposed to be casted in the movie 300, right? And he was bawling. He was crying his eyes out. And he says, I'm grateful I got to watch my first child being born. He said, I know if my schedule and my life was the same, I would have never gotten the opportunity to witness that moment. He said, what's something you're grateful for, Ed? I said, brother, I'm grateful for 3 p.m. He said, why 3 p.m.? I said, most days I get to be in the carpool line picking my children up from school. He said, a carpool line? I said, no doubt, man, I'm a competitor. I'll be racing cats to be the first one in the carpool line. They'd be waving at me, I'd be like, I'm gonna be first, right? Like, I'm a competitor. I said, but the carpool line, but not the carpool line. I said, it's more so about trained optimism and not fantasy land. Right? Putting my mindset, my disposition, and my attitude in the space and place that when I encounter opposition, when I encounter adversity, when I encounter uncertainty, can I look at it with the perspective to see how can I add value to every environment that I go into and every person's life that I come in contact with. You see, I'm a firm believer that perspective drives performance every day of the week. How an individual view what they do will always affect and impact how they do what they do. And so I had a trip scheduled to College Station, Texas. Right? Okay, we got some Aggies in the room. I got you. I respect it. Right? and I had a connecting flight in Dallas. And so me and my wife, we've been at it since 5th grade, 10 years old. Right? Puppy love, whole deal. This is my girl, right? Sneaking in grandmother's back door, like, this is my girl, right? And so whenever I travel, I update my wife, let her know how things are going. And I get to Dallas and everything is going great. I get in line, I'm pulling up my boarding pass on my phone. I'm inching toward the gate agent. And as I go to hand him my boarding pass, I look up and I see the pilot. And the pilot is walking off the plane, walking at a pretty brisk pace, and he had his briefcase in his hand. And right when he got next to me, I said to him in a joking manner, I said, hey brother, well, where you going? He's like, the plane that way. He was like, yeah, we hit a bird. I was like a little bird? He was like, yeah, a bird. I was like, no disrespect to the bird, but the bird gone, right? Like plain bird. No match. He was like, yeah, but sometimes it can be blood on the plane, sometimes things dip the plane. It's just a protocol we gotta go through. I said, great man, I travel a lot. Would you mind if I sit beside you? I just want to understand the protocol. God was nice as all get out. We take a seat, introduce ourselves, and he says to me, Inky, we'll be fine unless they bring the plane tow truck. He said, if they bring the plane tow truck, we'll have to wait 2.5, maybe even 3 hours. I've been traveling coming up on 17 years, never heard of a plane tow truck in my life, and within 3 minutes, what do you think showed up? A freaking plane tow truck. 3 hours go by. We board a new plane. We're getting situated. We're slowly pulling off the runway. Pilot comes over the intercom and he says, guys, I hate to inform you, but we have to go back to the gate. And everybody on the plane looked at each other and was like, yeah, he's probably joking. Then he says, no, they forgot to load the luggage. And the people lose it. And I believe I had the maddest guy on the plane sitting next to me. He starts smacking the seat, smacking the wall. Like he was so mad, he was starting to make me mad. I don't even like getting mad, right? And as we're pulling up to the gate, I say to him, brother, I just want to see who forgot to load the luggage. Like, I just want to see, man. And I spot the luggage bin. Like, never forget it, 2 gentlemen on both sides of the luggage bin. One guy had a Sprite, other guy had a Dr. Pepper. Remember that vividly. And they were doing a floss dance, like my 11-year-old son. I was like, oh, that living la vida loca. There's no luggage on the plane. My man Ricky Martin in the flesh, like my man chilling. And I said to the guy beside me, my challenge is not that there's no luggage on the plane. Right? That's not my challenge. I said my challenge is not even that we've encountered a level of opposition and adversity. That's not my challenge. My challenge is not even that we've encountered a level of uncertainty. Right? I'm not one of these people that wake up every single day and live my life as if I'm in Mayberry and I'm not going to encounter any level of opposition and adversity. Right? I just don't view life that way. I said my challenge is this. If we're not careful, the monotony and the routine of things, we can do things with the spirit and the disposition that when opposition and adversity arises, we can approach it with the perspective of, oh man, I'll just be ready for it and I'll rise to the occasion. And I think we all know in life, you don't rise to the occasion, you revert back to your training. Meaning the individual that you were prior to the opposition, prior to the challenge, prior to the adversity, that is the individual that's going to show up in the midst of it every single time. Right? I was born to a mother at 16 years old, inner city Atlanta. She took me back to 125 Bourne, southeast corner of Atlanta. 2-bedroom home, 14 of us living there. But whether I grew up in a 2-bedroom home with 14 people, or an individual grew up in a 14-bedroom home with 2 people, when we came into the world, the physician couldn't come to us in the hospital and say, you inherit character. Right? They couldn't give it to us. It had to be cultivated through opposition, adversity, successes, and failures. That's why my favorite quote in the world is Dr. King's quote. You judge the true character and caliber of a person, not by what they stand in times of comfort and convenience. You judge the true character and caliber of a person by what they stand in times of challenge and controversy. I think we all can agree everybody knows what to do when the sun shines. I think we all can agree everybody knows what to do when there's money in the bank. I think we all can agree everybody knows what to do when things go their way. But it's some of the most successful people in the world if you ask them how they got through opposition and adversity, there's a quote that says, we all got problems, but what makes us different is how we solve them. Right? The perspective that we see things with. And so I had something that happened in my life at a very young age, and it shifted the way that I still live my life until present day. And so I grew up in a family to where prior to me, nobody had graduated high school. And so the expectation and the standard was extremely low. And I felt very strongly about my family's condition, and I wanted to change it. And so when I first started playing football, did I love the game? Absolutely. Right? Did I want to do some things through the game? Absolutely. Right? But more than anything, I wanted me and my cousins to have our own beds. Right? We were sleeping on pallets. I wanted to pull my mother off the double shift at Wendy's. I wanted my grandmother to have a better living condition. And we're playing tackle football in the street. And I'm saying to my cousins, man, if I make it to the NFL one day, maybe we can get our own beds. They're like, yeah, ain't that sounds cute, but we're not even playing organized sports, bro. I was like, yeah, but if you want it the way we say we want it, we can make it happen. I was like, yeah, that sounds cool, but nobody in our family has even graduated high school. Right? It's like when you're trying to do something that's never been done before, there will always be people present that will tell you reasons why you can't accomplish it. Right? And if the mindset, the spirit, and the disposition is not stronger than the opposition, you will always revert, retreat, and wave the white flag and say, I yield. Right? If the perspective is not in order, you'll always retreat and say, I yield. When I got to high school, I encountered a cop. My first day of high school, I was extremely excited, extremely elated, and I get to the door and I tell people, at my high school in Atlanta, we had TSA before TSA at the airport. We had metal detectors already. And you would step in the metal detector and step through, and it would search you from the crown of your head to the bottom of your feet. Now, I'll never forget a cop said to me, what's your plan, little man? I said, oh, I'm going to go D1. I'm going to go to college. And I was at a school that was the lowest performing public school in the state of Georgia. Not in Atlanta, in the state of Georgia. I said, I'm going to go to Division I, I'm going to go to college. The gentleman responded, you'll probably go to cell block D1. And he went to walk off. I jogged over, I caught up to him, tapped his shoulder. I said, excuse me, man, but I've never seen you a day in my life. I think you got the wrong guy. I've never seen you. He said, no, I know about you. I said, really? He said, yeah, your family came to the same school. I said, yes, sir. He said, your uncles, they can play ball just like you. I was like, yeah. He said, aren't you up and serving 20 and 40 years at the federal penitentiary, not too far away from me? I was like, yes, sir. He said, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. I said, we'll see. He said, we will. When I got my scholarship papers to go to the University of Tennessee, you know the first person I went to see? Yes. Right, because we're talking legacy. Right, we're talking about doing something that's never been done. We're talking about crushing it and taking it to another level. The quote says it. Every next level of our lives demands a new version of us. Right, and so I often ask people, is your software updated? And people often think that I'm referring to an iPhone. Right, when I say to them, is your software updated? They think I'm talking about an iPhone. And I'm like, bro, Apple is so cold-blooded, they'll send you the alert to let you know when to update your software. But one of the most powerful things I got told in my younger life was, always be willing to challenge and reevaluate what you think you know to be true. Does the knowledge base, does the information, is the individual that you currently are, for the things you want to accomplish and the things you want to do, is it applicable to your goals, dreams, and aspirations? I have been fighting my whole life. And so adversity to me is part of the course. But I had people at every phase and stage of my life that saw something in me when I couldn't see it in myself, and it propelled and fueled my level of belief, and I couldn't let them down. I met a gentleman in the street when I was a kid. Never forget, driving a blue pickup truck. And me and my cousins are getting after it, playing tackle football, and our signal was when the street lights would come on, we had 10 minutes before we had to go in the house. And the street lights popped on, there was a blue pickup truck at the corner. And I had the ball in my hand, and I stand on the sidewalk, my 3 younger cousins stand on the opposite sidewalk. I look at the truck, start to waving by, I'm like, come on, man, I got a couple moves I want to put on these jokers so we're going to the house, you drive it. And the guy was driving extremely slow. And he parks on the sidewalk. Out of the truck, it's this guy. Walks over between our game and says, hey man, would y'all like to play football on grass? I was like, yeah, brother, the street getting rough. He said, go in the house with your parents and speak to them. My mother was at work, my uncle was home. I said, hey, uncle, will you please come and speak to this young man? Uncle said, sure. Uncle came outside, guy extended his hand. He said, hey man, my name is Trey Hurst. He said, I'm gonna be honest, I just dropped the kid home a couple blocks over. I'm leaving the neighborhood and I see these knuckleheads playing tackle football in the street. He said, I run a program and I help kids across town. I think if you bring the boys out, it'd be a great opportunity for them and it could really help them. My uncle said, sir, we greatly appreciate it. He said, but I hate to inform you, if it costs money, we just don't have the money to spare on anything like that at this moment. He said, Inky's mother works a double shift, single mother, she doesn't have it. Other 3 fathers are in and out of the system. The guy without any hesitation says, I tell you what, he said, you bring him to the park tomorrow, I'll sign him up, I'll pay for it with my own money. I tapped my cousin's leg. I said, bro, you ain't even seen my spin move yet, bro. What kind of guy is this? You ain't seen my best stuff yet, man. And he hadn't even seen us play. And the next day we get to the park, I would soon find out he wasn't just paying for me and my 3 younger cousins. He's paying for kids all across Atlanta. Guy was wildly successful, had his own business. Didn't have to be a little league coach. He was doing it as a give back. Just wanted to help people. And they placed me on his team. And I watched him. Watch how he treated people. Watch how he spoke to people. Watch how he dealt with people. And most nights I would be one of the last kids in the park leaving, waiting on my mother to get off her shift. And one night she called me. And she said, can you please take Inky home? She said, they won't let me off work. Can you please take him home? He came over to me. He's like, Ink, I got to take you home. They won't let your mother off work. I was like, all right, cool. And we pull up to 125 Warren, and I get out. He says, all right, Ink, I'll see you tomorrow at practice. I said, all right, coach. I said, can I ask you a question? I said, I just want to understand something. He said, sure, what you got? I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I really want to understand this. Opened his door, got out of his truck, walked around, stood directly in front of me. He said, son, first and foremost, you can't disrespect me. I love you. The first man to ever tell me he loved me. He said, what you got, Ink? I said, why do you live life the way that you live it? Why do you treat people the way that you treat them? Why do you do things the way that you do them? He said, I'm going to share something with you, son, and I don't want you to ever forget it. And in its simplicity, it was yet profound. And all he said to me was, as long as you can live your life and make sure that somebody else's life is okay, he said, son, your life will always be okay. And he got in his truck and he left. And it shifted my perspective about everything I was a part of, everything I was connected to, and everything I was privileged to do. I stopped viewing sports as a game a long time ago. I view sports the same way I view the stage. It was a platform I got provided to cultivate a certain level of excellence and greatness, so one day when I was done with it, it would be certain things I could extract from the process of it to add value to other areas of my life to make me somewhat of a decent human being. At the end of the day, we're in the same business. Right? The people's business. At the end of the day, we're in the same business, right? The quote says it. People may forget what we do, people may forget what we say, but people will never forget the way we make them feel. We live in a world that's so transactional. Right? They don't value people. They don't value things. It's so transactional. You can ask a person a question, and before they answer, people are already walking off. We live in a world that's so transactional that when you see people that care, it's something that's special. Right? When I'm home in Atlanta, after school, when we pick our children up, I go with my wife to this place that we go to like every other day. And I'm like, you want to go there again? She's like, yeah, the lady in the drive-thru reminds me of my auntie. I'm like, but she's not. People, right? Value people. I got to tell you a story. Something happened with me and my son a few months back. Just the value of people. We're talking legacy. Right? It's different pillars to it. There's different things that's interconnected to it. And so I was bringing my son home on a Saturday morning from a workout. And we're driving home in Atlanta, and it's storming in Atlanta. And we're getting off on our exit, and my son's cracking a joke, and our exit in Atlanta is on a ramp. And so as we're coming up on a red light, it's storming, and an 18-wheeler comes beside us. It pushes a lot of water our way. My truck does a slight shift. When my truck does a slight shift, I think it's just a slight shift. And my truck keeps spinning. I'm like, man, we're in a full-blown hydroplane. And I was like, no, man, no. And we keep spinning. And we're spinning toward a retainer wall. And my truck is taller than the retainer wall. So I'm like, man, if my truck hits this retainer wall, we're going to flip over off this ramp. And something hits my spirit and says, let go of the wheel. I was like, I can't do it. Like I drive with one hand, man. It's the only control I got. And I look at my son. And my son says, Dad, I feel like we're about to die. And it hits my spirit again. Let go of the wheel. Let go of the wheel. And I let it go. But in life, that's how we do, right? When opposition, adversity, pressure, situations that we feel are outside of our control, the first thing we do, we contract and we want to control it. Right? Most of the time when we want to let go of a situation, let go of an environment, let go of people, it's one of the hardest things in the world. Right? And so when I let it go, we spin,